Hi, it's Sue with today's Bible reading for February 18th. I'm reading Numbers 16 and 17 today from the World English Bible. Now, you may remember when we started this book, I let you know that there would be a link in the description for the Bible Project overview of Numbers. Now, Bible Project, I don't know a whole lot about them, but they are a nonprofit with a website and a YouTube channel. No idea if they have any other social media. They have an overview, I think, of every book in the Bible, and at this point, a whole lot more short videos and resources on the Bible. One of the things they have that I love that I talk about periodically is a poster book of every poster that they've drawn out of the books of the Bible. So whenever they do one of their overviews, it's graphic illustration where they draw out the book in front of you as they're explaining it. And then when they get done, they have a whole poster. Well, they have a book of these posters that you can buy. I have one. I love it. So that if I ever want to get a big picture overview of a book, I can just open up that poster and look at it. Well, I had linked that video, the Bible Project Numbers Overview video in the description. So I just discovered they have another one on the book of Numbers, about 6 minutes long. I'm going to add that with the other link in the description in case you want to get a look at this book from a different angle. And of course, you can go to all kinds of resources, including other short videos, to get more insight into this book. You always have all kinds of commentaries if you want to do a study on the book. And remember that this broadcast is for the big picture overview, to get through your whole Bible, to have read the whole thing and keep that picture before your eyes. And of course, all the benefits that come from that, namely learning about God and who He is, getting to know Him. And when you sit down to study, it's the exact opposite. It's the micro view, it's the slow way down. Really look into it, do the word studies, read the commentaries, get some good mentors who've already done the homework, right? Um, so anyway, I mainly just wanted to reference you to that second Bible Project little video clip. I thought it was really good. So one of the things I learned from them um, was the outline of the book. And I love to have an outline of anything that I'm doing. And so I didn't realize that in this book, in the wilderness, they're in the wilderness the whole time, you have three main stops with travel times in between. The three mains are Mount Sinai, where Moses gave the commandments. And of course, a whole bunch of other events happen there. And then they travel in between to Paran, and then they travel again to Moab, right near the Jordan River, just before they go into the promised land. So there's a lot that happens, a lot of adventure, a lot of ups and downs in between the beginning of the book before Mount Sinai all the way to the end. But you can see some of that in those two videos that I will have linked in the description. Okay, let me get started with today's reading, and I don't think it's going to disappoint today. Chapter 16, verse 1. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, O-N, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took some men. They rose up before Moses with some of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the congregation, called to assembly, men of renown. They assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said to them, You take too much on yourself, since all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and Yahweh is among them. Why do you lift yourselves up above Yahweh's assembly? When Moses heard it, he fell on his face. He said to Korah and to all his company, In the morning Yahweh will show who are his and who is holy, and will cause him to come near to him. Even him whom he shall choose, he will cause to come near to him. Do this, have Korah and all his company take censers, put fire in them, and put incense on them before Yahweh tomorrow. It shall be that the man whom Yahweh chooses, he shall be holy. You have gone too far, you sons of Levi. Moses said to Korah, Hear now, you sons of Levi, is it a small thing that is it a small thing to you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you near to himself to do the service of Yahweh's tabernacle and to stand before the congregation to minister to them, and that he has brought you near and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you? Do you seek the priesthood also? Therefore you and all your company have gathered together against Yahweh. What is Aaron that you complain against him? I have all kinds of things coming to mind. I'm debating whether to stop and talk about them. I guess I will. One thing, this rebellion reminds me of Satan rebelling against God. God had already given everything, basically, except, I mean, except Godship, if I can put it that way, right? It's kind of like Satan, do you want that too? Like what you have isn't enough. The same thing seemed to happen with Adam and Eve. Like you've already got this garden and everything in it. The only thing you can't have is the thing God told you not to choose, the fruit of the knowledge of the tree, or the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And yet they wanted that. So here you have Moses has watched God unfold this whole thing. He has a much better grasp, apparently, in Revelation about how sacred this thing God has been doing with the developing of the temple or here it's the tabernacle and the priesthood. And so that's why the second they said that, he fell on his face. He knew that that was crossing into sacred territory and he wasn't going to have anything to do with it. Not only that, he had seen what happened with Miriam and Aaron when they had rebelled against him a while back. So do you remember that? And Miriam had leprosy come on her. So Moses had seen that, and now they're all rebelling against not just Moses, but Aaron and Miriam too. And Moses knew God had put these leaders in the places that he put them, not Moses. Verse 12, Moses sent to Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and they said, "We won't come up. Is it a small thing that you have brought us up out of the land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? But you must also make yourselves a prince over us." So Moses' argument was very strong. Is it a small thing to you? What God has done? I mean, he's right, right? He's like, I mean, I've had conversations like this with people that just couldn't see reality. Haven't you? He's like, and so he thinks his argument is very convincing. Like, what are you talking about? Do you think it's a small thing that God did this? And what do they come back with? Do you think it's a small thing that you brought us up out of Egypt? You see the rebelliousness there and the juvenile attitude? Verse 14. Moreover, you haven't brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us the inheritance of fields and vineyards. Like you said you were going to do that, and actually you didn't. You said God was going to, right? Can you see that the interchange here? It says, "Will you put out the eyes of these men? We won't come up." So they refused to come up and talk to Moses. Verse 15. Moses was very angry and said to Yahweh, "Don't respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them, neither have I hurt one of them." Moses said to Korah, "You and all your company go before Yahweh, you and they and Aaron, tomorrow. Each man take his censer and put incense in it, and each man bring before Yahweh his censer, 250 censers, you also and Aaron, each with his censer." They each took his censer and put fire in it and laid incense on it and stood at the door of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. Korah assembled all the congregation opposite to them to the door of the tent of meeting. Yahweh's glory appeared to all the congregation. Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, "Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." They fell on their faces and said, "God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and will you be angry with all the congregation?" Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the congregation, saying, Get away from around the tent of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram." See, now, that's their free choice. God is giving them free choice now. Free will. Which side do you want to be on? Verse 27. So they went away from the tent of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side. Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents with their wives, their sons, and their little ones. Moses said, "Hereby you shall know that Yahweh has sent me to do all these works, for they are not from my own mind. If these men die in the common death of all men, or if they experience what all men experience, then Yahweh hasn't sent me. But if Yahweh makes a new thing, and the ground opens up its mouth and swallows them up with all that belong to them, and they go down alive to Sheol, then you shall understand that these men have despised Yahweh." And Sheol means place of the dead here. As he finished speaking all these words, the ground that was under them split apart. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all of Korah's men, and all their goods. So they, and all that belonged to them, went down alive into Sheol. The earth closed on them, and they perished from among the assembly. All Israel that were around them fled at their cry, for they said, "Lest the earth swallow us up." Fire came out from Yahweh and devoured the 250 men who offered the incense. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning and scatter the fire away from the camp, for they are holy, even the censers of those who sinned against their own lives. Let them be beaten into plates for a covering of the altar, for they offered them before Yahweh. Therefore they are holy. They shall be assigned to the children of Israel." Hmm. Eleazar the priest took the bronze censers which those who were burned had offered, and they beat them out for a covering of the altar, to be a memorial to the children of Israel, to the end that no stranger who isn't of the offspring of Aaron would come near to burn incense before Yahweh, that he not be as Korah and his company, as Yahweh spoke to him by Moses. But on the next day, all the congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and against Aaron, saying, "You have killed Yahweh's people." Oh my goodness. When the congregation was assembled against Moses and against Aaron, they looked toward the tent of meeting. Behold, the cloud covered it, and Yahweh's glory appeared. Moses and Aaron came to the front of the tent of meeting. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Get away from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." They fell on their faces. Moses, that's the true fear of God, the true reverential fear of God. I mean, after seeing that kind of power and seeing the things God had done, I think that would humble you pretty quick. So it says, they fell on their faces. Moses said to Aaron, "Take your censer, put fire from the altar in it, lay incense on it, carry it quickly to the congregation and make atonement for them, for the wrath has gone out from the Yahweh. Plague has begun." Aaron did as Moses said and ran into the middle of the assembly. The plague had already begun among the people. He put on the incense and made atonement for the people. He stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed. Now those who died by the plague were 14,700, in addition to those who died about the matter of Korah. Aaron returned to Moses to the door of the tent of meeting, and the plague was stopped. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, and take rods from them, one for each father's house, for all their princes according to their father's house, 12 rods. Write each man's name on his rod. You shall write Aaron's name on Levi's rod. There shall be one rod for each head of their father's houses. You shall lay them up in the tent of meeting before the covenant where I meet with you. It shall happen that the rod of the man whom I choose shall bud. I will make the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against you, cease from me." Moses spoke to the children of Israel, and all their princes gave him rods, for each prince one according to their father's houses, a total of 12 rods. Aaron's rod was among their rods. Moses laid up the rods before Yahweh in the tent of the testimony. On the next day Moses went into the tent of the testimony, and behold, Aaron's rod for the house of Levi had sprouted, budded, produced blossoms, and bore ripe almonds. Moses brought out all the rods from before Yahweh to all the children of Israel. They looked, and each man took his rod. Yahweh said to Moses, "Put back the rod of Aaron before the covenant to be kept for a token against the children of rebellion, that you may make an end of their complaining against me, that they shall not die." Moses did so as Yahweh commanded, so he did. The children of Israel spoke to Moses, saying, "Behold, we perish, we are undone, we are all undone. Everyone who keeps approaching Yahweh's tabernacle dies. We will all perish." That's it for today's reading. Be sure to check for the link, the second link for the Bible Project Numbers review. And that's it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Shalom, shalom.